situation. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio, the Top 5 at 5:55, brought to you by SlapStix Comedy Club. Get your tickets now, July 10th. I'll be hosting a stand-up lineup at SlapStix, plus doing improv at the 7 o'clock show and doing stand-up at 9. So come out and see us at SlapStix on July 10th. Opens up in earnest on July 9th, so they've got a show there. If you can't get tickets for the July 10th show, get the July 9th. But opening up in a week's time at SlapStix Comedy Club. All right, top 5 most patriotic sports moments, and this is gonna start a debate. I didn't realize it was. These are all 5 very patriotic moments, but apparently the order has got people's red, white, and blue boxers in a twist. So,
we're fighting.
Number 5, Mary Lou Retton beats the Soviets in 1984 to reclaim the gymnastics team title and prove that you didn't have to be a Soviet-trained gymnast to win gold, and we stuck it to the Ruskies.
Yeah, and East Germans, and their super juices they were taking back then.
Yeah.
And figure skating was like that too for a while, right?
Yeah.
She was somebody who at the Super Bowl was like the sweetest person I've ever met.
Yeah,
like you see her on the commercial, and you're like, you like, I wonder how she really is. And then you see her in person, she's the exact same way.
And her daughter was at Baylor.
Acrobatics and tumbling at Baylor. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So Mary, I believe
so
she
was
lives in
Nadia
Houston.
Comaneci. No, not her.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Number 4, the Miracle on Ice. 4? At 4.
Armstrong's pissed.
Yeah, at 4.
We got a couple of people in the gallery who are not happy with this ranking.
Yeah. Number 4, the Miracle on Ice.
See, this I didn't experience this firsthand. Neither did most people in this room.
Yeah.
But
Did you?
No, I was in the womb.
Yeah. So you could speak to like how impactful this was.
No,
that
that was stunning, and not. It was a moment that was shocking. And what was tough about it is that, it was a semifinal game.
Yeah.
But it was played because of what they would do is then come back and play it later on, because they don't want to play at 10 o'clock in the morning for the ratings. That's probably among the top 5 greatest upsets in sports history that I can remember.
And top 5.
If not top 1 or 2.
And top 5 sports calls with the miracle call.
So I kind of grouped these a little bit. Let's back-to-back Cold War, okay? And I'm going to explain these when you get it. Okay, so number 3, George W. Bush's first pitch post 9/11 at Yankee Stadium. I love this story. I love that they had the little mat out there in front of the mound for him to go pitch. And he gets to the top step of the dugout, and Jeter tells him, hey, they're going to boo you if you don't throw from the rubber. And, here's a guy who has had the weight of the world on his shoulders in these couple of weeks after being the president during a terrorist attack on U.S. soil, the first such thing that had happened since Pearl Harbor, and now has to think, well, I don't want to get booed, so goes up to the mound at Yankee Stadium in the World Series and just right down the pipe.
Yeah, I mean, he nailed it, and that's got to be one of the most nerve-wracking moments. And I know GW has his detractors and whatnot, but that was one of the coolest moments, possible, especially at that time.
Didn't matter if you were red state, blue state, any state.
And if it did, then you just need to get a life. Honestly,
we were reeling as a country, reeling emotionally as a country, and this is a moment that I think everybody was like, okay, we can start to be us again. And it was a beautiful moment, and I love it, and I always think about it.
And then 3 days later, okay.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. All right, these next ones are World War II related, or Hitler related, because, again, the greatest triumph over evil, perhaps in human history. Number 2, Joe Louis knocks out Max Schmeling. Hitler was just touting Max Schmeling as this guy who's going to beat this black boxer. He's going to beat him, and he's going to bring glory to Germany. Now, Max Schmeling, unfairly in this, who was, I guess, a Nazi, because there were a lot of people who were Nazis. Now, Max Schmeling it's very debated later on in his life. I don't want to be one of these people who reigns on Max Schmeling. He was kind of just living his life and doing what he was doing. He also lost to Jim Braddock, and he lost to other people when he was the heavyweight title. But Joe Louis beat Max Schmeling so badly that Schmeling, in less than a round, got 2 punches away. 2. And Joe Louis beat him to a bloody stump in a round.
Well, the first time they fought, it was a knockdown, drag out, 12 rounds. Yeah, the next time it was less than a round.
Yeah.
He crushed him.
Yeah. All right, and number 1, which I believe is...
I do have one note on that because I've read about this before. I think there's been movies about it. Those 2 guys ended up being really good friends after the fights and like well into their later years. Max Schmeling and Joe Louis were
Max
tight.
Schmeling actually helped out Joe Louis financially when the U.S. government... unleashed a siege on him, which, I mean, yes, he didn't pay his taxes, but what they did to him was completely unfair.
I think that other than Ali, and this is in the argument about greatest heavyweight fighters of all time, that Lewis would have been is in that conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
All right. And number 1, Jesse Owens wins in Berlin in 1936. This might be my favorite sports moment of all time. I mean, it just is. I mean, Hitler is just furious that a black guy is going to run in his Olympics.
Black American.
A black American, yeah. But like a black American's going to run. I mean, he'd kind of sent the message to the German team that this is unacceptable. You can't do it. And the Germans were like, well, nothing we can do about it. He's the fastest guy on the planet. I mean, he's unbelievable. And Jesse Owens' own story just to get there in 1936 on his end in America, which was not the greatest place to be if you're a black guy in 1936, and even to go then over there and represent a country that didn't love him as much as they should have and stick it to a guy like Hitler. My favorite thing in world history, it's one of the greatest things.
Okay, it is, but
I got some comments on that. Hitler apparently snubbed one of the other black athletes, ended up not congratulating anybody because, in part, he didn't want to congratulate any of the black American athletes. And so it's either you do it for everybody or you don't do it at all. And so apparently, basically, he just didn't do it at all. And he did snub intentionally one of the other black American athletes. But yeah, and that was in
Rayford Johnson.
No, it was actually Cornelius Johnson.
Yeah,
that was who he snubbed. But yeah, and that was in their home. Like they were hosting the games, which made it even just so much more amplified. The whole thing.
All right, you're good, and you could always argue the order.
Yeah.
But this one here it has to get an honorable mention, if not in the top 5. 1968 Summer Olympic Games, a guy named George Foreman just won a heavyweight championship. And I will always remember him walking around the ring with that little American flag.
Yeah, I thought about this one. This is up there, yeah.
You did not.
I did.
And that's the guy that beat my favorite athlete maybe of all time, and Joe Frazier, but that
look how cut up he was.
Oh God, yeah.
So I have a lot in mind. I think of like Michael Phelps a couple Olympics back, and like that doesn't rank up there. I think of Michael Johnson, think of USA Gymnastics, all these things, but one that was immediately on my mind when I thought of this, but it's sports related and yet not sports. But Whitney Houston's national anthem before the Super Bowl was one of the most patriotic moments, I think, in the country's history because, I think everybody was kind of on board together at that point in time. Now we've got so much more information and so many more voices and things, but it was a lot simpler back then, and everybody was pretty much on board with Team America, and we were in a war, and it was bad, and here she came and she belted out our beautiful national anthem.
Maybe better than anyone's ever sung.
Yeah, and that was definitely a moment that I remember too. But all these are fantastic.
Unbelievable. Good list, Paul. Thank you very much. Paul's top 5 at 5:55. We appreciate